tenderize that Philly meat real good.
Tenderize that Philly meat real good.
Tenderize that Philly meat real good. New Howl Order.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee, here on behalf of the NFC East Super Friends, bringing you around the NFC East in week number 5 in the National Football League. Sorry for the delay on this. I thought somebody else was going to jump on this, but I have no problems talking about this division and all of its splendor, or in the last couple of weeks, or a few weeks rather, the disappointment of this division that started with 3 2-0 teams just a month ago. Everything was all good just a month ago, but here we sit. Another disappointing week for the division as a whole, and seems like the Philadelphia Eagles are the only team immune to the foolishness that goes on with this division. Ass whoopings, primetime spots getting destroyed, things of that nature. Give me about 10 or 15 minutes to run around the league in this division, rather. So, week 5 started very ominously. I guess this was a sign of things to come. A little foreshadowing for what would be the division's fate in week 5. Washington took on the previously winless Chicago Bears in a game that was supposed to be a get-right game for Washington. Obviously, it was a get-right game, all right, for the Chicago Bears as they jumped on top of Washington 27-3 at the half. Washington made a valiant effort to come back and had an opportunity, had their field goal kicker made a kick down 20-30 to cut it to a one-score game at 30-23. They would have had a shot. And I still contend that they would have won the game had that happened. But even had they come back and won, it was an embarrassing showing against a bad football team, one of the worst in the league, and they got carved up by a quarterback still searching for his identity in this league. They allowed another receiver to go ape shit on them. 230 yards, 3 touchdowns for DJ Moore. And it was an embarrassing performance by a team that is probably going to be looking for a new GM, head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator potentially, we'll see, etc., etc. I think that might be the nail in the coffin for Ron Rivera. The owner is already talking about not wanting to lose the fan base. Losses like that turn people off very quickly. The first 3 home games of the season were all sellouts. I doubt that the next one against Philadelphia will be a sellout. And if it is, it's because the Eagles fans came and took over. Either way, Washington loses that game, gives up a 40 spot to the Chicago Bears 40-20, dropped to 2-3 on the season. The lone bright spot right now is quarterback Sam Howell, who continues to impress. You know what it is. It's NHO. If you didn't know, now you know. However, they have to do better around Sam. He wasn't supposed to be the focal point of this team. He was supposed to be the guy that put them over the top. He's right now the only thing keeping them afloat. Defensively, we're horrible. Offensively, we can be better. But it all, to me, begins and ends with the coaching staff. They've got to be better at putting guys in positions to succeed. I don't think they're doing a very good job of that right now. And it's playing itself out on the field on a weekly basis. That's 3 losses in a row for the Commanders after starting the season off 2-0. You move on to Sunday's action, and you start in the 1 o'clock hour. The New York Giants, who have been abysmal this season, started 1-3, easily could have been 0-4 if not for a crazy second half versus Arizona. They were traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins, who had just suffered their first defeat of the season at the hands of the Buffalo Bills the week previous. So they were chomping at the bit to get back into the winning column, and that they did. The Giants hadn't forced a turnover all season long heading into week 5's action. Finally got on the board with 3 turnovers, including a 102-yard pick six by Jason Pinnock that kept them in the game. It was 14-3 at the time, and Tua, who was not very sharp in this game, by the way. 2 interceptions from Tua. They had a fumble by Devin Achane also. And so the 3 turnovers kept the Giants afloat. What should have been a 21-3 game at the half was 14-10. The Giants were hanging around. But Tua threw another pick, bad pick in the red zone. Giants couldn't capitalize, had to settle for another field goal. And that's the story of the Giants right now. The offense kicked 3 field goals. The defense scored their lone touchdown. The Giants continue to be dominated in first half of games. The Giants continue to find ways to implode. The offensive line is a sieve. And Daniel Jones was sacked 6 times, including the final sack that knocked him out of the game with a neck injury. Tyrod Taylor comes in. He's promptly sacked as well. They gave up 7 sacks in the game, and if not for Tyrod Taylor's elusive ability, they probably would have given up 8 or 9 sacks. They didn't score an offensive touchdown in this game. They gave up 100 and some odd yards, I think 172 yards rushing to Devin Achane, including a 76-yard touchdown scamper. They gave up a 69-yard touchdown pass or something to that effect to Tyreek Hill. Why he was one-on-one, probably a safety issue, probably a breakdown in the defensive scheme on that particular snap. But you can't give him one-on-one with a corner, let alone a rookie at that. And that bust the game wide open. Tyreek Hill, I think 8 catches, 169 yards or something like that, and that touchdown. The Dolphins win comfortably 31-15 over the Giants, and the Giants dropped to 1-4 on the season, and they've got a date with the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. Meanwhile, Washington will be traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. You go to the nightcap on Sunday, or rather 4 o'clock hour. Saw the Philadelphia Eagles travel to LA to take on the Rams. The lone team in the division that won in week number 5 are the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a really good football game. I enjoyed this game thoroughly. The Rams were game early. There were mistakes by the Rams that allowed the Eagles to take full advantage of them, and that's what good teams do. They take full advantage of mistakes. The Eagles won this game, first and foremost, 23-14. This game went back and forth in the first half. Eagles went down. Dallas Goedert finally got involved in the offense. He really hadn't been a huge factor in the pass game this season, but he had 8 catches for over $1 and some change and a tub in this game. A.J. Brown continues to build on the momentum he had from the Washington game, where he had 9 catches for 175 yards and 2 tubs. He had another monster game, 6 grabs, over $1 and some change. He continues to be a problem. And I thought Jalen Hurts was just outstanding in this game, with his legs in particular, but he threw for over 300 yards too. So it's not like he was lacking in that area either. He did throw a pick in this game, but every time they needed a big play, specifically with his legs, I thought he was exceptional. He ran through arm tackles. He ran over guys. He turned the corner on dudes that I didn't think he was going to turn the corner on. There were some pivotal third downs that he picked up with his legs in this game that just broke the back and the spirit of the Los Angeles Rams. And I thought there were opportunities. You know, Puka Nacua with a drop on a third down in the first half when the Rams had all the momentum and the Eagles were finding it tough to stop them early in the ballgame. That drop was huge. It really stunted the growth of that Rams offense at the time. But then the Rams did bounce back. They scored a touchdown to Puka Nacua right before the half to take a 14-10 lead. But then, with 32 seconds, no less, and the Eagles were fine with just getting a field goal. That's all they were looking for. And the Rams said, no, you're undefeated for a reason. Here's a touchdown instead. So there's a 15-yard penalty that they tack on at the end of a catch. Then I think that prompted the Eagles to say, hey, let's take a shot at the end zone. So Jalen Hurts throws a 50-50 ball, underthrown, I think purposefully, to A.J. Brown. They get a pass interference on Kendricks, puts the ball at the 1. You know what's coming at that point. I think there was like 2 or 3 seconds left in the first half. You know, they knew they were getting it. You know, brotherly shove into the end zone. I don't think the Rams ever recovered from that. You give up a touchdown in 32 seconds when the other team is just really looking for a field goal. That's backbreaking. And so the score was 17-14 at the half. Eagles put the clamps down in the second half. There were opportunities for the Rams. There was an opportunity up the seam for Tutu Atwell touchdown if Matthew Stafford's able to hit him, but he wasn't. There's a one-on-one coverage on the third down with Cooper Kupp, who was back, 8 catches, over $1 and some change in his first action from the hamstring injury that kept him out of the first 4 games of the season. And Stafford throws a lob job. Kupp's looking outside, then turns over the wrong shoulder, then has to relocate the football, isn't able to do it. That was an opportunity one-on-one up the field. They had chances, but it was all about that Eagles defense. And then when it became time to put it away, the run game became a huge factor, and the Eagles were able. All they did was kick 2 field goals in the second half. It's not like they dominated and ran away. This thing was 17-14 the entire third quarter. Rams had opportunities, just like the Eagles did. Neither team really seized any opportunities in that third quarter, but the Eagles then were able to pull away with a couple of late field goals and win this thing 23-14 to remain undefeated on the season, joining the 49ers as the lone undefeated team. Eagles start 5-0 for the second year in a row for the first time in franchise history. They're playing excellent football. They travel to New Jersey to take on the Jets next week, who are fresh off of a win against Denver. I expect the Eagles to take care of business there, get to 6-0, and then they'll get their probably second real test of the season at home on Sunday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins. Don't overlook the Jets. That's a quality defense, but I expect that offense of the Eagles to be able to, circumvent that Jets defense that's pretty good, and I expect your defense to suffocate Zach Wilson and that Jets offense. Just don't let Breece Hall get off. That's all you have to pretty much do is stop him. You cut that snake's head off, and the body will die. And then lastly, wow. As a Washington fan, you thought it was bad on Thursday. And again, we played the Bears, so you don't get to laugh and point at the Cowboys as much as you would like, because at least they played the best team right now in football in the San Francisco 49ers. We played the Bears, who were previously winless, and let them come in our house and smack us around. So can't really point and laugh as much as you want to, but of course you're still going to point and laugh, right? Credit to them. Credit to them. Them being the San Francisco 49ers, which felt like a massive matchup. I tweeted out before this game started, man, this feels like a big game. Wow. I was jealous. I'm not going to lie. I tweeted out, I'm jealous. I want to be a part of something like this. Haven't been a part of something like this in quite some time. And, we were last year against the Giants. That was a pretty big game on Sunday Night Football. And it felt big. Felt like old NFC East football. But that felt like, a massive matchup with huge playoff implications down the road potentially. And Cowboys just got their asses handed to them. And the 49ers are a different animal. They're physical, but they also have a finesse element to them that, gives them the balance that a lot of teams just don't have. Defensively, they get after you. They don't have to blitz a ton. Their linebackers are all world. Fred Warner had himself a ball game. So did Dre Greenlaw. The secondary is so much better and improved, and they still could use an upgrade on that back end, but they're so much better than they were a year or two ago when, you thought that was the liability for that football team. Boza is a handful. Javon Hargrave is a problem. And offensively, Brock Purdy was dialed in. They ran the football with Christian McCaffrey. Took some of that off his plate, but they had no answer for George Kittle. 3 catches, 3 touchdowns for Kittle in this game. Brandon Ayuk had a really good showing. Deebo Samuel chimed in with what he does. They just didn't have an answer. The other running back, Mason, got off as well. And this turned into a thorough ass whooping. I mean, classic ass whooping. Shoes, coat, and hat tooken. Classic ass whooping. And 42-10 was the final score. It's bad, and I've said this multiple times, so you've probably heard me say this already, but it's bad when the other team takes their starters out with 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Essentially, they took the fourth quarter off. This thing could have been 60-10, right? If they wanted it to be. Had they kept their starters in and kept pushing the button, if Christian McCaffrey doesn't fumble at the 1-yard line, this is probably a 60 spot. If they wanted it to be. Definitely a 50 spot, right? Yikes. Ain't nothing worse than having the opposing team kikiing on the sidelines with 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I mean, Nick Bosa's over there telling stories about a first quarter sack, laughing with Javon Hargrave. Brock Purdy's got a ball cap on. He's listening to the play calls. He's chopping it up, kikiing with the quarterback's coach. That's the worst. They turned it into a preseason game on their ass. So Dallas has to find a way to pick up the pieces. Dak Prescott was horrible in this game. He was picked off, 2 times, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. And they shut down Tony Pollard in the run game, forced him to fumble relatively early on. It seemed like Dallas kind of got away from him after that. Dak said after the game, that was a humbling loss, probably the most humbling loss of his entire career because of the nature of the loss, obviously on primetime television and getting run by 32 points. So the Cowboys are 3-2. Season's not over. The sky is not falling. What it just said to me is that you're just not in the same category with the Eagles and the 49ers. You're in the tier below them with the Lions and the Seahawks and those teams. You're not in the upper echelon. You're not on the top shelf. You know, the lower teams can reach you, right? Like the Chargers, who you'll be traveling to on Monday Night Football. They can reach you. You know, teams like the Chargers, I don't know if they can reach that top shelf with the 49ers and the Eagles. But they can reach you on the shelf that you're on. And if you're not careful, this will be 3 out of 4 that you would have lost. So strap it up. Justin Herbert, coming fresh off of a bye, is going to be waiting on you in LA. I'm pretty sure there'll be more Cowboys fans there than Chargers fans. You'll be loud and proud. And let's see if you can right the ship, get back in the win column, and get back to playing winning football. I don't think the Cowboys are dead, but I do think that the book is out on them in terms of what you have to do. You got to stop the run game. That short dink and dunk pass game that they've been featuring, this Texas Coast offense or whatever the hell they've dubbed it, shit is trash, and nobody respects it. But if you can't stop Tony Pollard, that offense is going to be very successful. You slow down Tony Pollard and you force Dak Prescott to beat you, he hasn't proven that he can do that yet this season. Not in this offense, at least. So, and that defense, while it's very good, you got to get them running, and you got to run at them, right? And then you got to get them running side to side. And if you can protect, and that's easier said than done, but if you can protect, there's opportunities on that back end. There are opportunities on that back end. So we'll see what happens with the Cowboys moving forward. I still think that's a damn good defense. They just ran into an offense that had them figured out. So we'll see what happens. They're 3-2. They're traveling to LA to play the Chargers on Monday Night Football. That should be a good one in any event. The Eagles have created some distance between themselves and the rest of the division. I can't stand it. I'm sick to my stomach about it. But that's what happens when you play the kind of football they're playing. And that's what happens when you play the kind of football the rest of the division is playing. So Eagles are 5-0. Dallas is 3-2. Washington's 2-3. And the Giants are 1-4. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie Tee, here on Around the NFC East. If nobody else wants to do it next week, I'll be back like cooked crack. Until then, you guys, have a good one. Take care.
Tenderize that Philly meat real good.
Tenderize that Philly meat real good.
Tenderize that Philly meat real good.